Leeds Welding Company started in Leeds in 1920, so just over 100 years in incorporation. Started as a one-man band, just making general metalwork repairs, maintenance and things like that. And over years, it's just continued to grow and expand at a steady rate, and that seems to have been happening on a continual basis. We now employ about 120 people. We're across 4 sites all around Westland Square on Leeds, and we've got a whole host of activities going on in the factory from a metal processing point of view. So we buy in raw materials in sheet form, section form, so box sections and angles. We'll process them through saws, laser cutters, drills. Then sheet metal and plate will go through press braking. We might do some tube bending, and then we'll move out to different buildings around the square, and we'll do fabrication in 3 different buildings. So the fabrication work that we do is wide and varied, from supplying a very small laser cut component right up to supplying sort of fully fabricated assemblies. One of the big assemblies that's going through factory at the minute is a middle deck of a trailer for B&Q trucks. So B&Q, when they're delivering goods to each store, they have a standard trailer, but they have a middle shelf in the trailer that allows them to carry twice as many pallets. We're making that middle shelf at the minute for that particular design of B&Q truck. So anything from palm of your hand sort of size right up to the size of an HGV vehicle will go through our factory. We do have that kind of variety of work as well, being predominantly a subcontractor. So we'll sort of advertise our services to other engineering companies, and then they'll come to us for the sheet metal work element of it doing. So we have clients that are making things like, the B&Q trucks, as I've said. We do a lot of work with the home delivery vans that go up and down delivering food for Tesco's, Asda, Morrison's. So we make metal components for all those vehicles. We have a range of customers that are in the construction industry. We have a multitude of customers that are industrial customers. We have customers in agriculture. So our exposure to metal products is pretty widespread, really. So we've got a real mix of work going through the shop. It's not just a factory that's sets up, and if you were making, I don't know, car doors, for instance, you might just be a factory that all it did was make car doors. We're not like that. We make a whole array of different products. So in terms of the types of roles that we have here, and the people that we've got employed, can be a little bit, you think of the Leeds Welding Company, we just have welders. We don't just have welders. So we'll have people that are working in sales, marketing, in accounts, in design. So we've got guys on CAD/CAM programming lasers, and we've got guys in design that people will come to us and say, look, I want to do this, but I ain't got any drawings to show you how to make it. We'll take their rough concept, and we've got design engineers that'll finish that concept off for them, produce a set of working drawings, and put the work out then to factory. But then we have people in the factory. So we'll have people working laser cutters, people working saws, people working press brakes, tube bending, and then the individual fabrication bays. Again, we've got an array of different ways of welding things. So we'll have manual welders. So we've got welders that are given a pile of parts, a set of drawings, and away you go, turn them parts into these finished assemblies as per those drawings. And then we've got robot welders, where we've got volume orders where we'll have a couple of guys that are very good at programming the robots. So they'll take a product that you've been doing manually, they'll build it into jigs and fixtures that we'll design and manufacture ourselves. We'll put that onto the robot machine itself, and the robot will then, once it's programmed, it'll do the labor. So the guys are doing the technical side of it, and then the machine does the monotonous side of it. In terms of sort of welding competences that we have as well, we do standard MIG welding. We've got synergic MIG welders, so we can do advanced welding techniques like forced arc, pulsed arc, cold arc. Don't know what they all do or what they all mean, but we can do them all apparently. And then we have TIG welding, so we'll have TIG welding stainless, TIG welding mild steel, TIG welding aluminium, and we generally keep all that separate from the mild steel stuff, because the aluminium and the stainless tend to be sort of prettier jobs, fancier jobs that go in a bit more of a glamorous environment. I think from an employment point of view, I guess all the people in here are on a level 2 fabrication and welding course. Are they, Abigail? Is that right?
Most of them are, although we have offered this session out to all of our engineering students as well. So there could be some that are on it, just engineering courses too. Okay.
Yeah, so we've probably got about 10, 12 apprentices at the minute, all at various stages. And what we try and do when an apprentice joins, we try and put that apprentice on a bit of a rota, so they'll go around every department. So if you join as a fabrication and welding apprentice, you don't just join, turn up and start welding at day one and that's it for the rest of your life. We try and give everybody a bit of a rounded sort of experience of everything that goes on here. So they'll probably start at the beginning working with goods in. So you might work with the guys in goods in and stores and get an understanding of what all the materials are that we buy. There are sort of multiple grades, multiple sizes, multiple strengths of steel that we buy, and it works well to have an understanding of that when you're using it and working with it. So we tend to start our apprentices on a bit of a rota, and it might start with some experience gained working in a stockroom environment where you'd be buying materials in, you'd be counting sort of the materials that we're having delivered, verifying that the paperwork matches the quantities, and we'd be giving people experience of the variety of different materials that we work with. We then might spend a couple of months with the guys on the laser cutters, understanding the principles of laser cutting and how to modify a program, load the machine, unload the machine. They then work on press brakes. So once everything's cut, it then goes for forming. We've got a multitude of press brakes, some very small machines, some very big machines. So we've got 7 CNC press brakes that they've all got their own slightly different controllers and things like that. So we do try and give a bit of a guided sort of insight into engineering. When somebody starts with us, they go and do a little bit of everything from the cutting of the material, the forming it, the bending it, the welding it and joining it, and then the finishing it, painting it. We might put some work experience into sending things out for galvanizing, getting them back, and then we also do quite a bit of fitting and assembly work. So these sort of roles that involve hydraulic fitting and testing of some of the components that we're making. So it is quite a varied range of products and services that we've got here, and our apprentices are pretty well skilled, to be perfectly honest. When we get to sort of problems in the shop, somebody's off sick, somebody's not available for whatever reason, COVID testing or whatever there is at the minute, we find that having the apprentices there that have done a little bit of a tour of everything, they might not be fully skilled in every area, but we tend to find that they're very good at filling in the gaps as and when they appear. So having an apprenticeship program and having a constant sort of stream of people coming through that are on a learning scale is important to us. It's something we started about 6 or 7 years ago and never looked back really. So our sort of apprentices now that are finishing their time, they're some of them are sort of finishing and going into skilled jobs on the shop floor. Some of them are continuing their education and going on to do sort of level 4 qualifications that are a little bit more in depth, and providing the competent and reliable individuals, we're supporting them through that as well. So and then they get a little bit more experience moving away from shop floor and factory, and they're getting a little bit older, into the 20s, and a lot of young apprentices like I was when I started work. I didn't want an office job. I'd done my time sat at school. I was fed up. I wanted to get out of that sitting down writing things down all day every day. I wanted to go out and do something with my hands. As you get a little bit older, you realise that people have got an easier life than you. They're sat at a desk doing CAD/CAM or drawing or something like that, and you move on and you mature a little bit. But and that's what we've got with our apprentices. So our apprentices are now moving off and doing roles such as CAD/CAM programming. They're doing product design, product development, some detail drafting. And that's kind of coinciding with some of their level 4 qualifications that they're doing as well, that we support them through. They all go to day release. I don't think any of them are going to Leeds City College at the minute. Most of them are going to a pre as a training school up at Bradford. But we have a good mix of apprentices going through. We don't just do other people's work, we do design our own products as well. So I'm sure most of you are of the Instagram generation. I'm not, sadly. But if you were to look at LWC Agricultural on Instagram, you can follow some of what's going on here as a factory, and the guys in sales and marketing there are quite often posting pictures of what we've got going through the factory, new products designing, new products that we're manufacturing, and it's kind of a good resource really to find out a little bit about us, because we're a bit of a closed shop. We don't have to go out and find work. We don't have to go and advertise ourselves greatly in terms of an engineering company. We've got a great reputation. We've got a great solid customer base that just keep coming back. So the Instagram side of things were born out of the fact that we've designed and manufactured our own range of products to go into agricultural sector. So we're making attachments for tractors, telehandlers. So we're making things like buckets, we're making grabs, we're making spikes for bale spikes, we're making grass toppers that you tow behind the back of your tractor and you can cut the grass. It's like a giant lawnmower. And we're making, we've just got products that we've got in development at the minute, like a front weight toolbox at front of the machine, and we're developing a range of trailers as well for towing at the back, for carrying bales and general farm equipment. So we don't just sit here and do other people's work. We are actively looking at, what people buy that's made in metal, and we go out there and, design our own versions of equipment that's either currently on the market or there's a market need for. So that's a little bit really about the Leeds Welding Company and how that all pans out. I think for giving a description at company, it's always great to get people here and have a look round, and these sessions that I would have welcomed a factory tour had it not been for the time that we're under. Much prefer to show people what we do, and you do find that that's much more engaging and people have got a lot more questions. If anybody has got any questions about Leeds Welding Company or what we do, feel free to shout up or post them or whatever there is on the chat thing. I'm managing director at Leeds Welding Company. I've worked here for 22 years, but I didn't fall out at Sky as a managing director. I started work at 16 with 4 GCSE grade C's as an apprentice sheet metal worker, and jobs in this sector for people that are hardworking, talented, and prepared to roll the sleeves up and get stuck in. There's a lot of opportunity. The average age of a welder. I think I read somewhere across the US and the UK, the average age of a welder as an occupation is something like 50. Well, there's a massive gap there for young people to come into this industry that won't go away. COVID and things like that might shut bars and restaurants, but it's not going to shut manufacturing. It's not going to shut places like us. Through all this time, even when the first lockdown came, we did lots of things to try and benefit the factory and keep people employed and not have to use the government furlough scheme. So about 50 people out of 120 we ended up having to put on a furlough, and that wasn't because we ran out of work or because we couldn't cope. It was because most of our customers were shut for deliveries and they won't take it. We had a massive order book, and some stuff we had to stay open all day every day to keep certain supply chains going. But at the same time, we said, right, well, we're not going to sit here and wonder what to do. So we put our design guys to task of making things that were current and that were wanted. So we designed sanitizer dispensers, we designed freestanding screens, and we got the sales guys involved in marketing them, and then we got the production guys involved in making them. And you'll see some of these all over Leeds now. So Victoria Shopping Centre, when you go in and out of there's sanitizer dispensers that are foot pedal operated. They were all designed, manufactured and distributed from our factory in Leeds to various people dotted around Leeds and all over UK and Ireland. But we turned that round in 3 to 4 weeks from a concept to production samples being built, and then the freestanding sanitizer post, we sold 2,500 of them so far. So we're not a company that's going to hang around and wait for something like COVID to pass. We'll find a way of battling our way through it. So I think there are a couple of questions popping up there, Abigail. I'm not 100% familiar with how this all works, but I'll have a go.
Yeah, so we've got a question here from James. Do you make bike frames if people ask for them?
No, we'd say definitely not. We do get lots and lots of inquiries for things like that, and the name sometimes sort of confuses people a little bit, and we do get people quite angry on the phone. I once had a guy that were having a go at me because I won't weld his frying pan up because he burnt an hole in it. I said, but you're a welding company, why won't you weld my frying pan? I said, well, it's just not what we do. But he was quite frustrated. So the Leeds Welding Company, the name, we are kind of sort of fading away from it a little bit, and we're kind of calling ourselves LWC, and it takes away the geographical sort of, we're in Leeds, but do you only deal in Leeds? No, we deal all over the country, and we've ambitions to deal all over the world. And welding company, do you only weld? No, we don't only weld. We design, we laser cut, we press, we fabricate, we paint, we galvanize, we zinc plate, we assemble, we distribute. So we're kind of dropping them names a little bit. So things like bike frames, we do get quite a lot of requests. But where that type of work, if somebody said, can you make me a bike frame, or can you repair me a bike frame, or it's not really, we're not really geared up for that. We need sort of orders like, if somebody came and said, can you manufacture 100 bike frames a week, then that's the kind of thing that we do. But doing a 1 or a 2, we probably, well, no, we always say no, that's not the kind of thing that we do.
Okay. We've got another question here from Logan. What is your job?
As managing director, and I think you paused in a little bit, Abigail. I don't know if you can all hear.
Sorry, yeah. What is your job as managing director?
Well, you won't believe it, but I do a bit of everything, really. So I'm responsible for keeping everything ticking. I'm responsible for making sure that people are in the right place at the right time, I suppose, mainly. What do I do day to day when I rock up at 7:30 every morning? I'll have a raft of emails that I've got to get through. Being managing director, most of the problems end up dropping on your desk. Like, you know, if I give you a fresh one this morning, I've got a complaint from a customer we delivered to where our wagon's gone through his gate and ripped his gate off. What are you going to do about fixing the gate? You know, they're not all great, but, you know, that's the type of thing that does crop across my desk. But day to day, I'll be trying to sort of steer people on strategy a little bit. And, you know, things like the agricultural sector that we deal in, you know, we've got products going through now where we're aiming to turn over £3 million in that sector this year. So that £3 million worth of sales in 2017 didn't exist. So in 2017, we had a bit of an idea, we had a bit of a bashed our heads together and said, why don't we make some stuff for agricultural sector? How are we going to go about it? And then 2018, we said, right, okay, well, this is what we're going to do. This is what we'll go about it. And I just kind of sit in the middle, really, and help all the different teams all kind of come together. So in order to get them products designed, tested, manufactured, distributed, sold, I can't do it all on my own. So we've got guys in sales, we've got guys in engineering, we've got guys in production, we've got guys in distribution. And I just try and help everybody stick together, really. And, you know, overall, we get the results then. We get things that get designed at right time without letting everybody down. And, you know, that's kind of what I'm doing day to day. But on top of that, I'm responsible for everything else. I'm responsible for making sure we've got enough money to pay all wages. I'm responsible for making sure that, you know, the factory's in a safe condition and that we're, you know, compliant with, you know, all health and safety legislation. And, you know, so there's a bit of a varied role. But like I said, I didn't start doing this. I started by doing a bit of everything. I started as a sheet metal worker, bashing metal for a living. And then I moved into product design. I worked in the design office for a while. Then I worked in production. I joined Leeds Welding Company when I started working in production and CAD/CAM programming. I did a bit of project management, buying different pieces of equipment to make factory more efficient and run better. And then I ended up running factory, then moved into sales because, you know, our sales is not necessarily, you know, give people the hard sell. It's more of the buy off people that know what they're talking about. And by that time in my life, I've been around a bit and I've done a bit of everything. So I ended up quite good in sales. So it's varied. And, you know, if you're open-minded about working in a manufacturing company and you're receptive to change and you're hard working, you can progress, and you know you don't have to start as a welder and finish as a welder.
Brilliant, thank you. We've got another question here from Stephen. Are you a member of TWI, the Welding Institute, and what new product development do you do at present? Okay, no, we're not a member at TWI. Our sort of technical welding ability is growing, really, and that's why we want, you know, a lot of younger people around, because, you know, they say you can't teach an old dog new tricks, and, you know, a lot of our guys that are in the 50s, they don't want to learn about robotic welding. They don't want to learn about, you know, forced arc welding techniques, and, you know, they're quite happy doing what they're doing. So that is an area that we are looking to expand and grow on. And, you know, having younger people in the building and in these jobs does sort of foster a culture of, you know, I want to try these new techniques. I want to try these new products and these new, you know, developments in terms of welding techniques and things like that. We don't have a massive amount of what you might call technical welding ability, you know, so we're not doing things that are going into nuclear sector or oil and gas sector or, you know, heavy construction or anything like that. So it's a little bit of a tricky one in terms of, you know, how we develop our products and processes. But our new product development, what have we got on at the minute? Well, we're developing a range of trailers, like I said. So we're developing we built our first prototype. That's not quite working at the minute.
So we've had that on test on a farm. That's come back. It doesn't quite work. We've got to make some changes, even though we've got all the the relevant 3D CAD. Nothing tests a product properly until it's actually out. In the field being used by the people that are going to use it. So we've got that in development. We're developing probably won't be familiar with it unless many of you grew up on a farm, but we're developing a buck rake or a push-off rake that's used in agriculture that'll go up front of a tractor, and when they cut grass at the beginning of season, they store it for the winter, so that in the winter they can bring it out when there's no grass left and feed the cattle and the sheep, etc. And this push-off rake just deals with compacting grass, piling it up into what they call a silage clamp, and it's got quite a tricky sort of hydraulic mechanism in it that runs off the hydraulics of the tractor. That once it's got a load of grass on it, instead of so it doesn't get stuck, there's like a scissor action that opens up and closes it, pushes it away so that you can dispense the load. So that's one of the products we've got in development. We've got a couple of different sweepers in development that are operated by hydraulics that rotate, collect rubbish into a bucket, tip the bucket, dispense water to suppress dust and things like that. So we've got a few things in development at the minute that we'll be launching this year.
Brilliant. We've got another question from James as well. What do you aim for in 10 to 15 years? Me,
a beach, sunshine, feet up in 15 years' time. That's what I'm aiming for. What does the Welding company aim for in 10 to 15 years? We'd like to be designing and developing more of our own products. We'd like to be in a position where we're not as dependent on subcontract work coming in. And, we're working towards, instead of having, 10 big customers, have 1,000 small customers. And then, if one of them goes bust, it's not a big dint. So that's kind of what we've been working towards for a number of years, and that's where we'll continue to work towards. In 15 years' time, I would hope that our range of products is fairly well established and it's been tested by the market tests. You can test something in a laboratory, but you don't know whether you've built something, will it last its year warranty, or will it fall over after 18 months and then nobody wants to buy them anymore. I hope that's not the case. We'll be aiming to build quality products, keep them in the market and keep customers coming back. And in before 10 years, I'd hope to be exporting what we're designing and sending these things all over the world. We've never done any of that yet, but that's the place that's where we're hoping to be.
Brilliant. And I've got a bit of a question as well. In terms of the apprenticeships that you offer, do you do like a set amount each year, or how do you work that? Do you have it, or is it just as and when they become available?
We've only been doing it 5 or 6 years, and we started with one, and that was great. And then we learned that having one 16-year-old in factory full of 50-year-olds, it were a bit boring for him. So we said we better get him another apprentice just to make it a little bit more of a younger person's place to be. So we did that. Then year 2 we take another 2 or 3 on, and every year since I think we've set on sort of 4 apprentices. We didn't this year or last year because they were all sort of due to start around September time, and we're in the middle of COVID, and we missed sort of the recruitment sort of window and things like that. So we might set more on this year than what we did previously. We might end up setting 6 on or something like that this year, to help fill the gap that we kind of got left behind when the factory were closed, and 50% of people that were here didn't. Well, they were worried for their jobs, and setting new people on just weren't the right time for us at the time. So, but we're over that now, and we're looking forward again. So we'll probably set 6 apprentices on next year.
Okay. And what's the usual time frame for that, just out of interest?
Well, we normally start recruiting around February, March, and we'd normally be sort of starting people round about when the academic year would start again, around September. We might do that a little bit earlier this year, depending on how things go. So we will probably start recruiting again around March, and we might start people earlier than September. providing they're not in education somewhere else and they've got full commitments to fulfil.
Yeah. Okay, it's got a few more questions. So, Matthew, where in Leeds are you? I have missed it at the start.
We're just in Beeston, so we're about a mile from White Rose Shopping Centre, 2 miles out at city centre. So we're on A653 bus route, so we're dead easy to get to. It's 10 minutes into Leeds on a bus, and obviously you get out of Leeds whichever way. And if you're driving, we're 2 minutes from M621 and 5 minutes from M62. So we're dead easy to get to in Leeds.
Okay, and Logan, do you have multiple factories around the UK, or are you a one factory company?
We don't have factories around the UK. We've got factories around Westland Square where we're based. So Westland Square is the address of the factory. We've got the main site in the middle of the factory, in the middle of the square, sorry. So if you imagine it's a square that's like a roundabout, but you can drive all the way around it, and in the middle we bring all our raw materials in. We do the laser cutting, we do the pressing, we do tube bending, sewing, drilling. That all gets kitted up then, and then we've got 3 separate buildings around the factory, around that same square. Then on the outside of the square, where we've got a building that does stainless steel and aluminium fabrication, we've got a building that welds all the agricultural products up, and we've got the main site where we do the bigger fabrications that need cranes, the robots, and the paint shop and assembly in the bigger building.
Okay, so another question: can your company literally make anything?
We probably could. Would we? We probably wouldn't. No, but we do make. Providing it's viable for us, providing we can make money at it, then we will literally make anything. So, hand sanitizing dispensers up to trucks, tractors, forklift truck attachments, gates, railings. We do quite a lot, really, in terms of variety.
And how do you decide what to make?
Money. If it looks too cheap, we're not bothered. So we need to make sure that there's a profit in it and that we can keep growing and keep expanding and keep everybody employed. So that plays a big part. People quite often. I had an inquiry yesterday from a company that wanted to make some medical screens for going into these vaccination centres, so they could vaccinate people in a bit of privacy and create like a cordon around people while they're sitting there. They're normally buying from China for 30 quid. They wanted us to make them. Our price was 40 quid. Will you do them for 30 quid? No, we won't. Thanks very much. Goodbye. So, price does does play a big factor in it. But also, these things that are, things that need a lot of project management. If, somebody comes in and they've got a job that's only half developed, we might say, well, no, come back when you've finished drawing it, or come back when you've proved it and tested it. So that helps us decide. And capacity, once the factory's full, the factory's full. So somebody might say, I want these in a week. And we go, well, we're full for next week. We can't do them for 2 weeks. And well, I'll have to go somewhere else then. So, there's a whole heap of decisions that go into what to take on and what not to take on. And sometimes you get it right. Most of the time we get it right. Sometimes you get it wrong and you wish you did not taken the job on.
Okay, so where can you apply to be taken on as an apprentice? Do you have an email address?
Yeah, well, emails, if anybody's interested, they can email. The best email address is the one from the website, which is sales@leedswelding.co.uk, and they'll all get to the relevant people for recruitment. So yeah, that's the best way. Ordinarily, we would have been at the Leeds Apprentice Recruitment Fair this year, which we've done every year down at the Leeds Arena, but obviously they're not having crowds or anything like that. And I'm not sure that doing it virtually is the best way, really. I've said I'll sign up for a few of these things rather than go to the recruitment fair, because I know my lad's 17, and when you go to a recruitment fair, there's hundreds of people when you go around there, and if you're not sure what you want to do in life and you're not sure what type of work you want, then it's not easy. I think, you know, things like this where, you know, if most people have already got some form of interest in engineering, fabrication and welding, then, you know, letting people know that, you know, we're here as an employer, and where we are, what we do. I felt personally we're a bit more valuable than, you know, talking to people that might want to be a plumber or a joiner.
Yeah, definitely. More questions. So do you help people with the design process? Like, do you have a design department?
Yeah, we do. We've got 2.5 CAD/CAM design engineers at the minute. Paul's into retirement, so he's gone to 3 days a week. And then we've got 2 other guys that if, you know, if people have got a rough idea of what they want, but they haven't got the engineering knowledge or the ability to design it, providing, you know, it meets the other criteria, like we can make money at it and there's enough volume to put it in factory and we've got the capacity, then yeah, we'll have guys that are working in design that'll, you know, go and take an idea and turn it into a bit of a project. And, you know, we'll do that with our apprentices as well. So our apprentices will get little bits of design projects. So they might get a design project to, you know, design a toolbox. And what we're going to try and do is bring, as the apprentices sort of get through their experience on shop floor, get them involved a little bit in the design department and go, right, you know, have a go at designing something, you know, draw it, you know, create the drawing numbers, deal with drawing register, deal with, you know, learn how to take out a drawing and deal with drawing control and revisions and bills of materials and entering it up into MRP system that controls all our parts that follow around the factory. So we will sort of try and, you know, help people with design, and we'll incorporate, you know, design projects internally as well for our own products and our own, you know, things for, you know, we might want a smoking shelter for car park, and, you know, we're not going to buy one, we'll design our own.
Great. And if you wasn't able to work in the welding trade, what would you have liked to work as?
What would I like to have worked as? Probably a financial advisor, because they seem to make it dead easy money. I don't people that get paid for doing very little. That's what I wish I'd have done.
Yeah, that'd be nice, wouldn't it?
I have to do a lot for my money.
And another question here from Stephen: what CAD packages do you use?
Okay, good question. We've got Autodesk Inventor for the design, and for the manufacturing we use a package called Radan that you might not have heard of, but it's one of the best sheet metal packages around for taking sort of designs and models and you know, putting them through your laser cutting machines and your press brake machines and optimizing sort of programs and material utilization on shop floor, so we're not wasting as much material. That's just great software that for automating that process of you know, nesting components into a sheet and maximizing the amount of material that you use up and don't throw in bin. So Radan's you know, a popular one in sheet metal industry certainly. And you know, we use that, and it's one of the best. It's not the cheapest, but it is one of the best.
Okay, fab. Well, have we got any more questions that anyone would like to ask? If you have, pop them in the chat now. I suppose one other thing from me as well, in terms of this latest lockdown, then, has that not really affected you? Did you have everything in place from the first?
Yeah, in terms of, you know, I've got hand sanitizers everywhere. We're designing them and making them. We've got about 1 million prototypes all over the factory that you know, are getting used on an ongoing daily basis. So yeah, we designed sort of brackets for holding plastic screens, and, you know, a lot of stuff we designed for making our own factory COVID secure. So, you know, first thing we designed were, you know, cleaning trolleys for shop floor, little cleaning stations that are on wheels where they've got a roll of blue paper, somewhere for a bin bag, somewhere for some sprays and cleaning products that, you know, once upon a time a welder would never think about cleaning torch of his welding set, but we do it daily now. And it's been a little bit different this second lockdown, because all that were already in place. So, and we didn't have the panic this time that we had last time. Last time, the only reason we shut were because a large portion of our customers shut. And if we'd have carried on making things that they wanted but couldn't deliver them, we wouldn't have, you know, the factory would have clogged up. We wouldn't have been able to move. So that was the only reason we ended up having people on furlough.
Yeah. Okay, got more questions coming in again. So what do you use to help you build an idea of the profit margins for a product you're going to make?
We are introducing a new piece of software that will deal with controlling products on shop floor. So at the minute, we've got a variety of ways on shop floor. We'll have sort of individual sort of project managers that might look at a job and go, right, I've estimated that job's going to take, 10 hours. And, that particular salesman will monitor that job and he'll go, hang on a minute, I've got that a bit wrong. It's taking 11 hours, or whoopee, it's taking 9 hours. We're making an extra hour's, worth of labor on the job. So we don't have anything sort of super technical that deals with our profit margins, because a lot of our work is down to manpower, and certain jobs go through shop in a certain way. So if you've got a job that's got high volume, we might have one guy doing the first part of the job, and then another guy doing second part of the job, and then another guy doing final assembly. So you don't really know how long it's taken you until you complete the whole task. So we have got manual methods of monitoring that time taken, which is where the profit comes from. The profit comes from, you charge 10 hours, and if you do it in 9, you quid's in. If you do it in 11, you're losing. So but we have got software coming in place now where we have got, clock machines where guys on shop floor will be clocking onto a job, clocking off a job, and in the background, that software will be collecting all the data of how much we've spent on materials, how much we've spent on labour, how much we've sold it for, and that there really will monitor the profit margin. But that, again, that's part of what we're investing in, we're implementing at the minute. So, we are always kind of developing and improving what we do, and that's part of what we're doing at the minute.
Great. And then we've got some more questions around what you look for in an apprentice. So what would our students ideally bring to you to give them the best chance of being set on as an apprentice?
We're looking for hard work initially. Is the foremost. We want hard workers. We want people that are going to turn up, that are going to be reliable. We're not at school. You can't have a light, rock up whenever you want. It's, we want people that are going to, really get stuck into it, really get the teeth into it, ask a lot of questions, be inquisitive, want to have a go at everything, that's the real key that we're looking for when we interview people. It's very difficult as interviewing people for things like apprenticeship roles, because the qualifications might all be exactly the same. If let's say you've all passed a level 2 qualification and you've all passed with merit, or you've all passed with distinction, then who's to differentiate one from the other? What we're really looking for is people that are gonna contribute and contribute to the company long term. We're not looking for people to fill a gap or a bit of labour for a couple of years. My task is to build a team of people that can continue the company when I'm done, and in 15 years time I hope to be planning my days on the beach sort of thing. So over the next 15 years isn't a long time, really. It's the next generation of people that join the company, I want to see what I will like when I want people that were like I was when I was 16, 17, joining the engineering industry. And I wanted to get on, I wanted to learn, I wanted to, absorb as much knowledge as I could, listen to people that were telling me, and, try and improve what they were doing. If you had a guy that were teaching you how to do something, my goal would always be, okay, I'll learn how to do it first, and then I want to be better than him. That's how I approached everything, and that's what I'd be looking for, really. That kind of mentality from people that I had when I was younger, because that's what's going to keep the company relevant and current.
So I suppose anything extra that maybe students might have done, like work experience or volunteering, that sort of stuff, would that kind of set them apart from others?
Because that sort of helps you. You don't get long in an interview to sort of, sell yourself. Where I say I'm looking for those sort of qualities, it's very difficult to extract that from an interview. You might not even learn it for a couple of years after working with somebody, whether they've got what you really wanted. So yeah, it's incredibly difficult. But if you're filling CVs out for jobs in any role, and I'm advising my kids at the same time, they're just in education and thinking about moving on into world of work. And I, as an MD, as a recruiter, as people that I'm giving people jobs, I'd be looking for the other things out of the CV. The qualifications are one thing, and you have to have them to get on certain courses and do certain things. But I'd be looking for the extra bits and bats, like you say, Abigail. I'd be looking for people that can demonstrate that they are hardworking, that they are driven, that they are looking to get results done, and they are flexible and cooperative and prepared to make sacrifices now and then. So if you've got somebody that does a lot of charity work, then that this guy is prepared to go out of his way to make things happen that are important to him. And that's what's always going to be important to a company, especially a forward-thinking company that wants to go somewhere. If a company can't go forward if it hasn't got a team of people that are all pulling in the same direction.
Brilliant. And in kind of non-COVID times, is work experience something that you would offer for students?
Absolutely, yeah, absolutely. It's not easy, in the factory with just general health and safety. I can't put somebody straight into doing what the guys do day in, day out. But if there were a week-long slot where somebody wanted some work experience for a week, that we could sort of give them that very quick, fast-track sort of tour of the factory, tour of the industry, to show them what life's like working in a company like this. I'll gladly offer that. Yeah.
That'd be brilliant. And then obviously you mentioned the factory tours, and obviously it's difficult to say at the minute with COVID, but that would be amazing if later on in the year some of the students in this session would be able to come and have a look around. That'd be fantastic if that's something that you could potentially offer.
Absolutely. Like I said at the beginning, I prefer doing things like that than this sort of thing. I think these things have been pretty good. In terms of you can get to quite a lot of people. I wouldn't have been able to take 42 people on a factory tour now, but some people I'm sure are sat there thinking, yeah, that all sounds great, but it's not for me. But there will be a few people in there that go, hang on a minute, yeah, that's the kind of thing that might suit me. That I would like to explore it further. I would like to see the factory and see how things actually work. And it's a bit different when you go in somewhere, isn't it? You get a feel for what it sounds like and what it smells like, and you don't get any of that from these Zoom calls. So I'm a keen advocate of getting people to come round the factory when it's safe and available as a method of sort of educating people.
Brilliant. Yeah, we've got a comment there. I would love a factory tour. How many apprentices are you planning to take on this year or next?
We'll be between sort of 4 and 6 in 2021, and probably 4 again in 2022. Okay.
Fab. Well, hopefully...
Stephen Wingate, do we supply parts to Firmac in Scarborough? No, we don't, but I might give them a ring. What do they buy?
I must have missed that one. That was brilliant. So yeah, if we could keep in touch, Richard, and then we can see what happens with COVID, and then hopefully we can maybe get some of these students that are particularly interested, like you say, to the factory to have a look around. I think it'd be brilliant for them to see kind of the starting process and work the way around the different factories and see how it all works. That'd be amazing.
Yeah, I think the good thing about it being a factory is quite an area open space. So providing the groups are small, as soon as sort of things start to normalise and we're not got high infection rates all over the place, then you'd be very welcome.
Brilliant. Stephen's answered your question there.
Aircon equipment and aircon systems. No, but we might have a look.
Brilliant. Well, before we wrap up, if we've got any last minute questions, then quickly stick them in the chat now. But yeah, I'd just like to say thank you, Richard, for giving us the time today. I think it's really important, obviously, for students to get this insight. I know it's really difficult in COVID times, but we really appreciate you coming and speaking to our students. It is really beneficial.
Yeah, no problem. No problem. Like I said, it's sometimes these things are great. You know, these things they're a lot easier, and I think you know, some dinosaurs amongst us ought to adopt them a little bit more to do these kind of things, because it is quite easy to hit, you know, quite a big audience. You know, you've got 42 delegates on this one, and you know, it's not easy to take 42 people around your factory. You know, that would take some time. But if there were you know, half a dozen people that were interested in a factory tour, and we did it, you know, at a quieter time, you know, Saturday morning one time, you know, that always sorts the men from the day, doesn't it? Are you really interested? Yeah, get up at 7 on a Saturday.
That'd certainly show the dedication, that's for sure. Another question. So should I wait until February or get an application in as soon as possible?
If you're interested, if it's something that it sounds like you want to take, you know, take further, then you know, get your email address, get the email address off the website, and email your CV, and then we'll collate them, and you know, we'll put them into the pot, and you know, we might start the process early if we felt that there were a relevant tranche of people that we're interested in. If you know, if there is anybody, you know, that is interested in applying, then, you know, send an email, and we'll you know, we'll take it from there.
Brilliant. Right, so I don't think we've got any more questions now, Richard. So I'm conscious that it's coming to the hour of the session. So thank you again. And I'll keep in touch, and then hopefully once things start to go back to normal, we can potentially get something organised for later on in the year.
Yeah, that'd be great. Like I said, I'm keen to, you know, tell the people of Leeds what we do as much as anything else. You know, until we started doing these sort of things and marketing ourselves 3 or 4 years ago, people didn't really they're not even heard of the Leeds Welding Company, and we're probably one of the biggest engineering companies in Leeds. So it's you know, it's kind of growing really, and you know, growing our awareness of amongst sort of people in Leeds. You know, for me, start with the younger people, the people that are in education at the minute, and you know, hopefully in another 5 years' time, we won't have to shout about it as much. People will know us.
Brilliant. Well, lots of thank yous coming through. And one last quick question: will you join the Leeds Association of Engineers?
I think I did once attend a few of their meetings. Is that an invite? Is that?
I'm not sure.
Yeah, I'm vice president. You're invited again. Yeah.
All right. Thank you very much. Yeah. Well, if you drop me an email, and we'll take it from there. I'll find out what's you know, what's involved. But yeah, I'm happy to join. You know, anything spreading the word really, and getting the you know, the message out there to, you know, certainly to younger people of Leeds that you know, engineering is not as dark and dingy as some people might believe.
No, we're 154 years old, so we've been going a while.
Brilliant. Right, I'll leave it there then, Richard. So thank you again, and yeah, I'll keep in touch.
All right, Abigail, thank you very much, and thank you everybody for sticking with me. I didn't get too many ducking out early, so
no. Brilliant. Thank you.